Yes, yes, yes. I made a video and it's on the YouTube page. Yes. And I'm recording this phone call. Yes. Hold on. This is the video evidence of my phone call. So, you know, the video is myself. And evidence of my phone call, because then it would be no way of anyone accusing me of saying this or that or telling lies of what I said on the phone. So, you know, the video shows public because of, you know, in case someone was lying of what I was saying on my phone call. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes, I was speaking of myself and the teachings my tribe taught to me. The teachings my tribe was teaching me. Yes. Being married is. I did. I told. Yes. I told inside of the courtroom. And I told the first time I know of talking with one of those in-laws. A girl they said was one of the in-laws was at a house when I was a teenager, and I told her the lady or the woman or the female who was inside the household I grew up in, people said she was a mom of me, and I said no. Something seems wrong, because whoever she was had the character of someone from outside of my tribe. I told the girl who was said of being one of the in-laws, I told her when I was at the house, I told her I was over there so much because the house I grew up inside of was a house where the person who's claiming being the mom of myself did not seem having the character of being a mom, to me, and it seemed she had the character of one of those other tribes of them who had sex and children born from different people, you know. And some of the people, you know, said her character was the character of what some people call a prostitute, or, you know, a hoe. So I said what they said, you know. I don't really know what those words mean because I don't have any experience in those characters of having sex outside of the marriage of what my marriage license identity says being married is. You know? Yes, because my tribe teaches me that even if a person claims being my mom and she was having sex and children born from more than one person, it's the behavior of, you know, a character not of my tribe, you know. Because it would mean she has more than one baby daddy. And it would mean that, you know, she did different types of practices of some other God or some other spirit or some other way of, I don't know what it is, you know. So there's no reason for being mad at me for telling the truth, you know. Because, you know, having a marriage license certificate, because, you know, my marriage license certificate is one of the kind of being a marriage license certificate, and my marriage license certificate is one of the kind of being a marriage license and a marriage certificate at the same time. Both of them. Yes, because the top of the paper is saying the words marriage license, and the bottom of the paper says the words certificate. It certifies a marriage. So the paper I have is the type of marriage license certificate being a marriage license and marriage certificate at the same time, with the year of 2004 being the year my marriage license certificate has evidence of a marriage, with me doing the job of being a husband. Meaning, I never had sex outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, you know. Yes, it was hard, very hard. Yes, when I was in elementary school, being a mental health patient, ever since I was in elementary school, it was different, for me, being a mental health patient, growing up inside a house, being the youngest inside of a household of 4 of what was called brothers. It never seemed being brothers to me. All of the abuse inside of the household was from them abusing me. And the craziest part was the lady or the woman or the female claiming being the mom of the household I grew up in. She was part of it, abusing me. I started thinking that, those people was a gang or something, She would be wearing red all the time and seeming having the character of one of those gang people, being physically and sexually abusive to children. And I told. Yes, because I would not want to be like, I would not want to have the character of those strangers who, if their mom was doing bad sex stuff and abusing people, those strangers never told on their own mom, those strangers. Because, they say the first person you're supposed to tell on is yourself. They say the truth starts at home. The first person you meet is usually the person claiming being your mom. And if she was the first person who was hitting you with a belt or was hitting you with the sticks outside called switches, and if she was the first person who was a grown person fighting you as a child, is what they say to me, then she was the first person abusing you, Arbrandon. Because being a grown person fighting a child is child abuse and violence, is what they say happened to me, So I'm not part of those tribes, No. So it's not my fault if other tribes, strangers had the same types of mom or dad or parents and never told and stayed being abused for whatever reason, those strangers never told on their own mom or their own dad, it's not my fault, what those strangers never said or never told, showing their faces inside of the videos the same way I am showing my face and speaking inside of the video, because of recording this phone call, speaking of being abused when I was a child, telling my story of my character, of where all of the, brain damage and bad spots my head and face has from being abused since I was a child. They say it's not my fault, and if someone claimed being your brother inside of the same household, would you have told Arbrandon? And I say yes, I did tell. I told the person who was claiming being the oldest brother inside of the household I grew up in, while I was the youngest inside of the household, he sexually abused me more than one time, over and over and over again. My butt. And I don't understand why a grown person would have been sexually abusing the butt of a child, especially the youngest child inside of the household, when I was growing up. And I'm looking right into the camera, saying it, because my tribe say there's no excuse for any stranger or any person, if anyone, any stranger had a brother and had sex with their brother, or if any stranger was sexually abused from their own brother, or, if any stranger, no matter what gender the person is, if their own brother or a person who claimed to being their own brother or a person who was said or told of being their brother sexually abused them, then there's no excuse for, if a person is grown and has not made a video looking into the camera, showing their face, their own face, and saying these words. A person who claimed being my brother sexually abused me when I was a child. I am telling, I told, I am not keeping his secrets. He is not worth my soul. I recorded it. I told. Yes. I don't know what a non-disclosure act is. Being a witness of what other people said and what I heard other people talking about, those were the words other people used. Other people said, and what I mean by other people, strangers. Because I don't know them. I don't know them. Strangers said something about a non-disclosure act or them getting beat up. Strangers for I don't know why. because I don't know them because of them being strangers, and I don't know them because I have no experience in non-disclosure acts or the character of being one of them with a non-disclosure act. What did they say? Well, they said that even if a person had a non-disclosure act and someone, I don't know them, but they said even if a stranger had a non-disclosure act and a stranger, was told of strangers beating up strangers for telling on strangers, sexually abusing strangers, and then a stranger could still tell and saying that, hey, a stranger has a non-disclosure act and a stranger was sexually abusing a stranger, and a stranger was told a stranger should not say anything about what the strangers was doing to them strangers, or that strangers would be being abused and beating up for telling on strangers, but a stranger could say, so it's not worth my soul. I'm still telling. A stranger could say a stranger does not care about a non-disclosure act, and a stranger could tell anyway. Is what they say, because they say a non-disclosure act is nothing but a piece of paper. And a piece of paper was not stopping a stranger from telling what a stranger signed up for when a stranger signed the non-disclosure act. It's what they say, So, I don't really understand any of it, I was sexually abused in elementary school. I told in elementary school. I told more than one time in elementary school. Did I get beat up for it? Yes. But I still told. It's not my fault if a stranger was scared of strangers and never looked into the camera and told of strangers sexually abusing strangers, whether it was a non-disclosure act or not. My tribe teaches me. Yes, my tribe teaches me. I think my tribe is the same of believing in the God of saving virginity for the purpose of being married. Meaning, virginity, what I was taught, means voluntarily having sex. And having sex means going all the way. which they say could cause a pregnancy, and offspring being born from the pregnancy of going all the way, which they say is having sex. From what my tribe taught me. And, you know, I never had sex outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, you know. And they say that, you know, voluntarily doing it is not the same as, you know, what happened to me growing up. When a person was claiming being a brother to me or a girl cousin to me, and when a brother being older than me sexually abused me, and when a girl cousin sexually abused me, you know, they say I never voluntarily did it, you know. And I told, you know, because they say, you know, yes. They say, yes. They say when, okay, they say, if I had a girl cousin who sexually abused me, being a girl is no excuse for sexually abusing me, and that since I have a marriage license certificate, there is no reason for ever being associated with the girl cousin or the girl cousins who sexually abused me, you know. And my tribe teaches it's the same way for a girl. My tribe teaches if a girl claimed being married and was sexually involved with a girl cousin, then if the same girl claiming being married should have no reason for ever being associated with the girl cousin who sexually was physically, sexually involved with being a girl and another girl being cousins with each other. Because my tribe teaches me that, you know, if a husband and a wife, if a husband had a girl cousin and she sexually abused him when he was a child, and a wife had a girl cousin and both of them did sex stuff with each other, and both of them were children, the same way the husband and a girl cousin was children, and then those girl cousins are no good for the husband or the wife, because it's no difference. A girl cousin who was sexually involved with her cousin as a child is not part of the marriage you know, if a guy was sexually abused as a child from a girl cousin. And he said the difference is if the guy never had sex ever in life, voluntary sex, the boy was a child and he had never stuck his private parts inside of a person's mouth, butt, or womb. And when he was sexually abused, the girl cousin was not a virgin and she had already been having full-blown sex. Then she is guilty of sexually abusing a virgin boy who had never stuck his private parts inside of a person's mouth, womb, or butt. And even when he was sexually abused from the girl cousin, she was the one who sexually abused him, in those situations. And the crazy part about it, when I was sexually abused and I was a child, my leg was broke and I was stuck in the bed and couldn't even really get up, and since I had never, had sex with anyone, I didn't know what she was doing to me, so, they said, if you would have pushed her, then people would have been accusing you of abusing her for pushing her. So I didn't know what to do. So I wasn't pushing her because of, looking abusive to females is not my character, I was the one being abused, And I told, oh, I forgot, this video is recording my phone call. Well, it's evidence of me telling, with the public video now, Even though it's a video to me of recording my phone call, so it was like, But yeah, they said, whoever that girl was who was claiming to be a cousin to me, they said she had already been having sex with other people and had boyfriends and stuff, and that what she did to me was a form of sexual abuse of her being on top of me while my leg was broke and while, I don't know how old I was. I was a middle school student and something was wrong with my brain, from being a mental health patient ever since I was in elementary school. And I'm just glad that I never had sex with her, And I'm glad that I never had a sister either because, there's no way of being one of those people who had sex with their own sister if you never had a sister. So I'm glad that I never had a sister. I'm glad I never had sex with any of those girl cousins who claimed to be cousins to me, And I told of the sexual abuse did to me. And since I never asked any of those girl cousins for doing it or having sex or going all the way, it's not my fault for the sexual abuse those girl cousins did to me from whoever taught them or whoever those girl cousins was already having sex with way before sexually abusing me. Those girl cousins were not virgins, and it was more than one girl cousin. It was two of them. And from what I noticed, neither one of the girl cousins ever, like, I haven't heard of any of them being married, at all, ever. And probably because of, the doing it. And it's crazy because, me, myself, being a boy, a lot of people would think that boys would have started doing it before girls. But it's crazy because, I never would have thought that, in those specific neighborhoods I growed up in, certain girls was doing it way before boys ever even had any idea of what sex is, It's crazy. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I was telling you, yeah. So they say it's the same way because, they said it like, it's not about family, because, it was like, well, those kind of families are the types of families that should separate when a family of people, can't be together without having sex with each other or feeling on each other or kissing and hugging and sucking and licking on each other, and then a mystery baby end up being born with only one side of the family because, when they ask, okay, let's say when a child was born, somebody had asked before. So, if this is the mom's side of the baby's family, then what is the dad's side of the baby's family? And that the family was looking stupid because the mom's side of the baby's family was the dad's side of the baby family because somebody's brothers was said to have had, some stranger's brother was said to have had sex with their own sister. And some stranger's mom was said to have had sex with her own dad. And some stranger's dad was said to have had sex with his own daughter. And then when the children was born, it's crazy, And somebody was saying that, hey, why the child don't never go to his other grandma's house on the weekend? Or why the child don't never go to her other grandma's house on the weekend? And the parents got mad because it was like, what other grandma? The child only had one grandma. It was like, but the child's supposed to have a grandma on the mama's side, and the child's supposed to have a grandma on the dad's side. It's like, not in those families where the family had sex with each other and it is no other side of the family for the, like that stuff is crazy, And I'm not specifically talking about anyone, so there's no reason for getting mad at me, There's no reason for being mad at me, Growing up, it was situations where, I would be wondering, I'd be like, why the child don't never go to their other grandma's house, Because, it was like, growing up when I was going to school, the children who would get in trouble all the time would usually be the children who stayed at their grandma's house. Then would be the children getting kicked out of school all the time, and then would be the children that growed up, being the worst ones. It seemed like the ones who growed up in their grandma's house would be the ones. And the reason what I'm saying is that because when I was in school, usually the teachers would be like, go to the office, I'm finna call your grandma. When the children would be getting in trouble. And I'll be like, hey, you ever notice that the children who would be getting in trouble and sent to the principal's office and kicked out of school, when they would be calling on the phone, most of the time it would be the ones who stayed at their grandma's house, and the teacher would be like, get your grandma on the phone, I'm finna call your grandma. And, it's crazy, it would always seem like, you know, when a child would be placed in the home of someone calling themselves the grandparents or the grandma, the child would have the worst outcome and would have, you know, in those neighborhoods I grew up in, we had the worst. Like sometimes those children never really seemed never really made it out of their grandma's house, you know. Yeah, I was grown, you know, with a marriage license in 2004, and it was people, you know, still hanging out in their grandma's house, you know, and it seemed like the people had started off smoking marijuana or pot and then ended up snorting powder and smoking crack. I think it was the same thing. I think the powder was called cocaine and the crack was called crack cocaine, and they said it was the same drug. And then they started doing something called milk, and I don't know what happened after that, you know. And it seemed like, you know, a lot of them had sold to the devil for drugs and sex and stuff like that, and got mad at me because I said, no, I'm not part of it, you know. Those people were strangers, you know. I never had the character of them, you know. So, you know, I stayed away from it, you know. And, you know, it's not my fault, you know. It seemed like, whoever those strangers was, you know, had bad intentions of, you know, when I was growing up, being the youngest inside of a household, there was no children born after me inside of the household I grew up in. So I stayed the youngest one inside of the household, you know. Because they said it was 4 boys, and I was the 4th boy, and there was no children born inside of the household after me. And, you know, it's crazy that, you know, after being beat up and sexually abused and stuff, and I told, looking into the camera, I told, and I never signed a non-disclosure act, and I never used being abused, or I never used being sexually abused as an excuse of becoming a sexual abuser or a child abuser myself. You know, being sexually abused is no excuse for becoming a sexual abuser. Being abused as a child is no excuse for growing up being a child abuser yourself. I was never a child abuser. I am not a child abuser. I was never a sexual abuser. I am not a sexual abuser. So they say anyone who was claiming being abused as a child and using it as an excuse for being a child abuser themselves, it's not gonna work, because the same way I was abused as a child and I never became a child abuser, no one has any excuse. And the same way I was sexually abused as a child and I never became one of those people, a grown person having sex with a child, there's no excuse for anyone else. Is what they say, you know. My tribe is very strict, you know. So, you know, being a member of my tribe is very hard, you know. Because, you know, it's a lot to explain, you know. And something wrong with my neck from being abused and stuff. So if I'm moving my hands, it's not signals or gang signs or any kind of code. It's just me holding my neck up or trying to hold my head up, because, you know, those people had did bad stuff to me, you know, those strangers. And I'm not part of those tribes, you know, of them, you know. And I'm not naming any of the tribes, so there's no reason for being mad at me. But, you know, it's just crazy, you know. It was a tribe that said that the land was sacred and that they cared about the land. It was some strangers who claimed caring about the land, and it was some strangers who claimed being a tribe, and it was some strangers who claimed being a native. And, you know, it's crazy. It didn't make sense to me, because I was like, the same land that they claim caring about, they walk on the ground every day. So you walk all over what you care about? Those people didn't really care. Those strangers didn't really care about the land. And the same animals and the same stuff that they said was sacred, those strangers, whether it was a buffalo or any kind of animal that moved, those strangers was cutting the feathers off of the animals, but claiming that the animals were sacred. Those strangers was cutting the head off the buffaloes, but claiming that the buffaloes were sacred. Those strangers was, you know, stealing the stuff from the animals for money, but claiming that it was sacred. I'm starting to think that those strangers was telling lies about them caring about the land and the animals being sacred. It's like those strangers' outfit and clothes the strangers was wearing was made out of the same animals they said was sacred. Those strangers would be wearing a buffalo hat for a head. All the feathers on the bird would they be wearing on their hat or their outfit. Sometimes the strangers would even have leaves from the trees and stuff. And I would be like, wait a minute, why would those strangers be telling us the land is sacred and stuff like that, and all of those, you know, different types of sayings? But then you'd be like, but if those strangers really thought the land was sacred, why would they be wearing buffalo head dresses? Why would they be wearing the feathers from the bird if those strangers thought the land was sacred and thought the animals were sacred? And if those strangers really thought the land was sacred, why would those strangers ever be walking on the ground, on the earth, which those strangers claim is so sacred? You know, being married, I thought that, you know, from what my tribe teaches me, that being a husband is sacred. Being a wife is sacred. A wife would not walk all over her husband the way a stranger walks on the ground. Why? Because a husband is sacred. A husband is not something for walking all over. A wife is sacred. A wife is not something for walking all over. So those strange tribes of claiming the ground being sacred but walking all over it, those strange tribes of claiming animals being sacred but wearing the animal's skin and feathers, you know, it seems like the wrong kind of sacred those strange tribes was talking about. And since I'm not naming any of the tribes, then it's not my fault if, you know, a stranger was false claiming a strange tribe of believing that animals in the ground were sacred, but you seen the stranger walking on the ground, the stranger claimed being sacred. You seen the stranger wearing the feathers and the skin and the fur of the animals the stranger claimed being sacred. You seen the stranger eating the corn and the leaves from the trees and attempting at selling the turquoise rocks and whatever the stranger found from the land the stranger claimed sacred. You seen the stranger selling the items for money, for a profit. It doesn't seem like those strange tribes really believe anything is sacred and was only telling lies for people giving them money. I don't even know why any of them ever had their faces painted, those strangers. So, my tribe, the tribe of oneness, the little number 1 here, the Roman numeral, is the tribe of what my tribe teaches me. A marriage is one husband and one wife and one marriage and one household, believing in one God, and the one God is the one source, the one original marriage, the one original husband, our Father God, Father God, Father God, the one original wife, our Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, the one source. And the source is the one marriage, where the one ideal of the one marriage comes from. The greatest one marriage, the marriage of the one foundation, the one original marriage, the one Father God, Father God, Father God, the one Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, the one original household, of where my ideas of believing in saving my virginity for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life. Is the ideal of my tribe. So there's no reason for being mad at me, for, not being part of the fake, telling lies others told, So, yes. Yeah, that's what they say the oneness of God means. They say God is another word for source or spirit, of, love, how they say first comes love, then comes marriage. Those types of situations. Because it was like, yeah, it was a song. They said, like, there's a such song of love and marriage, and how you can't have one without the other. How you can't have love without marriage. So if God is love, then there must be a marriage. Because if you can't have love without marriage, then if there is no marriage, there is no love. But since there is love, there is marriage. And since marriage is one couple, then someone told a lot of the lies of he, and never showed any love to she. What about her? What about her? What about her? What about our Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God? And I think it's a shame the way all of these people, these strangers, I'm not talking about anyone specifically, so there's no reason for being mad at me, but I think it's a shame, and I feel disgusted and sick at all of the strangers who have disrespected the marriage of our Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God, and our Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, you know. And I'm not talking about, you know, Adam or Eve, and I'm not talking about, you know, any of those characters from those books. I'm not talking about our birth parents. I'm not talking about a person with a birth certificate. I'm not talking about a person with a birth certificate at all. When I say our Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God, I'm speaking of spirit, a husband. And when I'm talking about speaking of our Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, I'm speaking of spirit. You know, a soul and a spirit. A soul and a spirit of where male boyish ways comes from. Our Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God. A soul and a spirit. And a husband. And when I'm talking about our Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, I'm talking about a soul and a spirit. You know, where female girlish ways come from. Our Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, a soul and a spirit. Some call a God. So, you know, it seems like someone, it seems as if someone tried for a long time breaking the marriage of our Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God, and our Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, by acting as if it did not exist and praising their own marriage. And I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for anyone who's praised their own marriage without ever speaking of. But what about the first marriage? You know, no, not Adam and Eve. I never heard of them get married. No, not any of our birth parents. No. Because none of our birth parents are, you know, well, I'm not going to say anything because I wouldn't want anyone personally feeling mad because of the character of their birth parents or the sex any of their birth parents had, especially if you yourself are possibly a virgin who never had sex before. And then there's no reason for being, you know, mad at our Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God, and our Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, you know. And those may not be the words, you know. Anyway, when I say I believe in God, I'm speaking of our Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God, and our Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, you know. So it's important making it real clear so that people claiming being my birth parents are not taking credit for my Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God, or my Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God. And the reason why is because of the example they say. If a person claiming being my birth dad or my birth mom did not save their virginity for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life, then there's no way of them being the ones who have taught me of saving my virginity for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life. Because those people have no experience in saving their virginity for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life. So there's no way of them teaching anyone how to have the character of saving their virginity for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life. Because those people have no experience in saving their virginity, being their voluntary, going all the way 6 for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life. Yes, I do. I think that, you know, the spirit of my God, my tribe, was just inside of me speaking to you on the phone, because I don't really talk that way. So, you know, there does seem to be some anger from the higher up of all of the strangers bragging of strange relationships and strange marriages outside of what our Father God, and our Mother God says marriage actually is. So, you know, I'm just telling you of what was told to me, and I'm not interested in being a problem for anyone at all, you know. So, you know, yes, I'm recording my phone call. I had this brown cigar I'm smoking. And, you know, it's crazy. It's so crazy. People have been accusing people of so many lies to where now, whenever I smoke a cigar with the camera on, I have to show it on the screen so that people won't accuse it of being marijuana or street drugs. It really seems someone's, you know, some strangers seems to have really attempted making it very uncomfortable for so many people, you know. And I'm not sure why. Yes. Yes, I did. I said I told the first time I know of talking to one of the in-laws or one of those people with the character of in the past claimed being an in-law. I told when I was over there that there's no excuse for any of the in-laws not first telling if their own mom had sex with different people and had children born from different people outside of marriage for a different God. You know, because the same way I told when a person claimed to being a birth mom or a birth parent of me, it's the same way anyone could have told. Even if a person said that they had a non-disclosure act, it's no excuse. From what they said to me, they said a person could still tell if a person had a non-disclosure act, because a non-disclosure act is only a piece of paper. You know, it's just a piece of paper. A non-disclosure act is just a piece of paper. A contract It's just a piece of paper. You know? It's what they say. Yes. Thanks for caring. Because I am here inside of this room alone myself. And you know, sometimes it feels lonely, you know, after all of the abuse did to me, and being here inside of this room during these times of year when so many different people outside of my marriage, you know, was being mean to me. Then getting this phone call and knowing someone cares means a lot to me. So thank you. Yes. It is hard, you know. I'm 39 years old today, and I never had sex outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is. And people outside of my marriage tried making me feel very bad about not joining the groups others outside of my marriage joined. I don't know them. It's strangers, you know. It's crazy, you know. No, I'm not mad at anyone. I'm not one of those people mad at people, you know, for making their own choices. No. It was strangers who had false claimed being part of me saving my voluntary going all the way 6 for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life. And it's crazy when strangers claim to being part of it. I thought about it and was like, wait a minute. When I was in middle school, in the 8th grade, as soon as school started, one of the prettiest girls in the school said she was interested in going to the prom with me. And I said no. Because she had a strong sex vibe of having sex. And I wasn't interested in having sex until after high school, you know. Because I never, you know, had sex with anyone outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is. And I was 20 years old in the year of 2004 when I got my marriage license certificate. So it was way after high school, you know. And I never graduated from high school for the same reasons, you know. When I was in high school, it was a lot of girls running inside the bathroom with me, ripping my clothes off, grabbing at my private parts. Some of them was kissing on me and touching on me, and it seemed like those girls was attempting sex with me. And I ran out the bathroom, and, you know, with my body all messed up and stuff like that, you know. I'm just glad I managed saving my voluntary going all the way 6 for the purpose of being married to one female spouse only ever in life, you know. And it's hard. It's real hard, you know. Because, you know, most of the time when I go outside, you know, all the beautiful fat girls, all the beautiful dark girls, all the beautiful light girls, all the beautiful tall girls, all the beautiful short girls, all the beautiful bald head girls, all the beautiful long haired girls, all the beautiful social media girls, all the beautiful girls, you know, and all the beautifulness and the loveliness, all the beautiful church girls, all the beautiful tribes, all the beautiful, you know, different looks, you know, all of the beautiful different shades and different tones and different colors, and all of the beautiful, you know, beings seeming interested, staring and looking at me. I stay away. And I always say, I have a marriage license certificate as evidence of being married. You know, and I never had sex with anyone outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, you know. So I would never want to give credit away from my God, you know, because, you know, it's because of my God, you know, that I never had sex with anyone outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is. The same way other people forced it, the same way other people did it anyway, the same way other people went to prom. I could have went to prom in 8th grade. The same way other people went to prom in high school, I could have went to prom in high school. The same way other people was running trains and having group sex, I could have joined in with them. I was there in places when people was doing stuff like that and walked out and left because of my God, because of believing in the God of saving virginity. So I would never give credit to some stranger for claiming being the reason why I never had sex outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is. Because any of those times, I could have not cared about my God and voluntarily had sex anyway, instead of getting beat up, being left here alone, talking on this phone into this camera, telling all I know. So, you know, it's because of my God, my Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God, and because of my Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God. You know, there is no name for my Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God, Father God. And there is no name for my Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God, Mother God. You know? So I am not the problem, you know. With all of the holiday celebrations and stuff, I'm not burning down any churches or stealing from any stores or joining any of the groups of people, you know, with the violence or looting or sex workers or prostituting or pimping or sex trafficking anyone. I never did. Nope. So, one of the craziest parts is I never understood why anyone would have ever been mad at me. Probably because of them being strangers and not knowing me. Well, I'll say this. I got a marriage license certificate in the year of 2004. And once I got a marriage license in the year of 2004, I never pressed charges at all. There's no evidence of me pressing charges